Dover Sports Talk, worldwide, with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now let's talk heavyweights, and we're gonna talk a little bit of Anthony Joshua and the guys around Anthony Joshua. Right? Talk to Anthony Joshua. A couple of days ago, I did a video about Anthony Joshua saying to Deontay Wilder, right? Telling him, hey, forget about Fury. I want to unify. I want you to come to London. We fight on April the 13th, right? And I did in that video, which I'm going to put up in the information, but I did in that video without watching him do his interview. He was on First Take, debate show in America, and I knew what they wouldn't ask and what he wouldn't talk about without even watching it. I was able to do that, right? And I wanted to put on my dusty old wrong hat that we can't seem to put on, right? So now that I can't put that on, bam, then I got to have this one on. Then it's dusty. Dirty, but not dusty, right? That's ridiculous. So now, moving a little bit forward, Anthony Joshua has other interviews, and he tries to explain now why he didn't take $50 million from Deontay Wilder and his team, right? Wasn't going to watch that interview either because it was with Cuban Cassius, and that's that IFL TV in London. And I know there's probably some pertinent things they probably won't answer. You know, everybody's cool over there, and they don't ask these questions. Same thing as First Take. First Take don't ask Oscar De La Hoya what they need to be asking him. Like I told you, good morning, what's up with the racist emails? We can talk after that. No one does that. So, you know, they're suspect. So don't get it twisted. Everybody can get suspect if you're not going to ask the questions, well, what's up, man? If we're going to be sitting here talking positive to everybody, then, you know, that's not constructive. It's just, hey, we're going to put this narrative out there. It's a difference. So anyway, so I didn't really want to watch the interview. But you know something, guys? For a change, I did. I was about 20-something minutes. I sat there and watched the interview. And so Joshua explaining why he didn't take $50 million, right? First off, that means the $50 million did exist. Because if we're going to talk about $50 million and he explains why he didn't take it, that means it didn't exist, right? He said that it was $50 million would have been generated. He's not going to disrespect people from America. It would have been generated. He didn't see that it existed right then, but he knows that money could have been generated because of the people that are around it that were doing the deal. Right, so if that's definitely was $50 million, that's telling you something. Now he's quoted some things. I wrote down a quote. He said $50 million is unbelievable, you know, a great number, but there are things in place that don't make the $50 million worth it to the person paying it. You know, so the person paying the $50 million doesn't make it worth it for him. That's none of nobody's business. If somebody can pay you $50 million, do you care that he's not getting what he's supposed to be getting? He's paying you $50 million. That is their problem, right? Well, so you know, he's explaining how, you know, he was thinking, well, you know, some money goes here, money goes there, money goes here, money goes there, you know, and it's probably not going to be $50 million at the end. Okay, right? Okay, but this is what you have to make sure, and this is what Cuban Cassius didn't even ask him, but just tell him. You asked for that astronomical amount of money. That's why they came up with $50 million. When you thought it wasn't supposed to be there, you asked for something outlandish, and it just showed up, and it happened, right? That's why. So that's why the $50 million came about. So once it came, now you're starting to worry about where it goes and who's going to get what. Okay, so we know from Barry Hearn that the $50 million was real already. We learned from a lot of people that it was real, but that was the narrative that they were able to go with and that the base was able to follow. So now we definitely know that the $50 million was real. He didn't want to take it. Now, another thing that was interesting is, you know, he kind of knows that the $50 million was guaranteed for Joshua. If it was $51 million, if the fight generated $51 million, Deontay Wilder would have got $1 million. He's not guaranteed that, like Joshua was. But Joshua let the cat out the bag, and his point about him is that, well, from what I've earned before, right? What I've earned before, it should go up a certain percentage, and for what the other person earns, like Wilder or anybody else, what they've earned before, it should go up the same percentage as mine goes up, which means he ain't talking 50-50 for anybody, and Wilder and them, which means there's no reason to negotiate. And it also means he cares what other people are getting. They basically, his point is, I don't want 50 million if you getting it too. If you any boxer, right? It's not like at 50 million, I'm good. I don't care what you getting. I don't want 50 million if the other dude getting 50 million. Ain't nobody getting 50-50 with me, right? Because of his titles. He's got the 3 belts and somebody else got 1. He keeps saying 4. Don't say 4 because the IBO does not count. All right, that's like the WBA regular. We ain't counting the IBO title yet, and we ain't counting no WBA regular title. That's why Canelo's win over Fielding is good, but he's not a champion because of it. Okay? The state, with the 4 championship belts, WBC, the most prestigious. Then you got the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC. Those are the ones. So he has 3 belts, and the other one has 1. So he, basically 75-25 is what he would want, right? But he knows he can't do that, so he says business is give and take and whatever. So at the end of the day, this fight ain't happening with him and Wilder. Like I told you before, Wilder's not sitting back and not fight Tyson Fury to go back and negotiate with your boy Anthony Joshua. So that's what I'm just seeing from that interview. That's what I'm seeing from that interview. So we can kind of forget that, right? Because you're not going to ask Deontay Wilder, for example, to sign that $12.5 million, right? And then he says it was with an upside. At that point, it wasn't an upside. But when they offered Deontay Wilder $15 million, right? Flat fee. $15 million flat fee, which was outlandish because you shouldn't take a flat fee from a fight that's going to generate so much. But Deontay Wilder did. And at that point, gentlemen, without knowing Deontay Wilder personally, but I haven't got anything wrong about him, have I? Just so like I haven't got anything wrong about Anthony Joshua and the negotiations. After you, because I know how I would feel at that point, after you signed the $15 million flat fee to fight him in September, and then they come with that Povetkin thing all of a sudden, and that couldn't happen, and you didn't even let me sign $15 million flat fee, which Joshua's team did not think he was going to do, right? Once you sign that $15 million flat fee and they still didn't fight you, at that point, it was a done deal. Forever, probably, for Deontay Wilder. That's how I would have been thinking at that point. Dude, don't talk to me no more. Don't even talk to me. That's it. And that's what has happened. I'm telling you, that's what happened with Deontay Wilder. At that point, because that was totally unfair for Deontay Wilder to sign $15 million. I don't care what I made before that. I'm a WBC champion. I'm longer than you, and I've been trying to fight you the whole time. And those belts, we know what time it is with the belts. Let's make sure you understand. Deontay Wilder knows the IBF belt you got because Glaskov did not want to fight me. He went and fought Charles Martin for a vacant belt instead of fighting me. So there's some fear in that IBF title that you got, right? And then the WBA fight Vladimir Klitschko, he was supposed to challenge you for the IBF title. The WBA had nothing to do with it. Vladimir just asked them to let that, can we have this belt as well? No, it was supposed to be Luis Ortiz. It would have been Luis Ortiz versus someone else for the vacant WBA belt. And then Joshua would have had to go beat that guy. So that didn't really happen. So that belt just served with them. So you had to. Then you legitimately beat Joseph Parker for the WBO. But it's really 2.5 belts. Right? And Wilder knows that because while that was all going on, Wilder was champion the whole time. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, he's going to be thinking different about all of that stuff. I'm just saying, when you know all the details, it's going to be different. So let us just fast forward to the bottom line here. There will not be any Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua anytime soon. Anytime soon. If so he's going to continue to fight who he's going to fight, and if he's going to fight over there in England and fill up the stadiums, that's what you're just going to have to do. Because no one is worthy of 50%, and that's what you're going to have to give Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder after their saga is done with. Right? You're going to have to. And that's just how all that is. And so, Anthony Joshua did weigh in on what about the fight. He weighed in on the fight. He thought it was a good fight. He said, as a matter of fact, it was a great fight. One thing he said that was kind of, now, do you guys believe this? He said he looked at it a couple of days later. All right? Do you guys believe that? All right? Debate on that. He watched the other heavyweight champion, watched it a couple of days later. But he's going to be at Chisora. He's going to be at Chisora and Dillian White on the night. And don't act like, oh, he's in London where he lives. Well, no, he's in New York right now. So he's going to be there. So he watched that fight a couple of days later. That's one. right? So, but he says it was a good fight. He says that Tyson Fury, his spirit was still there when he was knocked down. He got up. He said, but when you're knocked out, your spirit's gone. He said, but Tyson Fury's spirit was still there, so it was good to get up. But he doesn't think Tyson Fury won that fight because you got to really beat a champion. So, that's his opinion to the whole fight in a nutshell. And another thing that I got right about the other video we were talking about, that I'm going to put up in the information box, right? They didn't mention Luis Ortiz. Cuban Cassius will not mention Luis Ortiz to him. We all act like there's that. So everyone else is more formidable than Ortiz. Just all of them do. Right? All of them do. When Max Kellerman, on First Take, he mentioned it. Well, when Deontay took care of Luis King Kong Ortiz, nobody really wants to fight Ortiz. Right? He's talking to Anthony Joshua. After Joshua could have stopped right there. Oh, man, hold up. You're right. Don't nobody want to fight Luis King Kong Ortiz. Call him up. Call him up now while we on the air. Let me call him out. Something. That didn't happen there. I told you it wasn't. But Cuban Cassius didn't mention it either. And I'm talking about, he mentioned everybody. Usyk, Klitschko, Dillian White, then even what about Chisora? If Chisora wins, that can possibly happen. Everybody, Jarrell Miller. For some reason, Luis the Real King Kong Ortiz is not in that mix. Guys, there's a reason, man. There's a reason. This is the guy that should have been the WBA. He was the WBA #1. And then he should have been, somebody would have had to fight him if Klitschko just didn't get this special, whatever it was, to have the WBA on the line with the IBF when he fought Joshua. That wasn't how it was supposed to go down. So when you know that, then you give this old guy a chance. But for some reason, that doesn't happen either, guys. So at the end of the day, if you guys are still out there wanting to see Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua, then you're going to be disappointed. I've given up on that way back then because once I seen that he signed that $15 million and that the fight didn't get taken at that particular time, at that time, you're fed up if you're someone else. If you have enough empathy to try to feel what someone else could. And I have that, right? Which means I know for sure. Deontay Wilder's like, I'm done with these guys, man, until they really want to fight. And if I just go do my thing until I'm worthy of 50%. And if I'm never worthy, then we never fight. And I was asking for 60-40 at first. That wasn't good enough either. Nothing was good enough, right? Then he asked for an astronomical amount. I gave him that. He didn't want to go. He didn't want to even budge. Talking about all of a sudden England is so important to stay there. He didn't say 50 million if you stay in England. He said 50 million because it was outlandish at the time. All of those things. I don't know what someone out there could possibly want Deontay Wilder to do. Someone even wrote, hey, well, Deontay Wilder, you always talk about one name, one champion, and that name's Deontay Wilder. What about that now? No, what about that in September? That's what it was in September. He did everything to make it happen in September. Now, it's so convenient, just like I said in the other video, so convenient when he has something to do with Tyson Fury that all of a sudden starts saying, hey, Deontay Wilder, come and get undisputed. Because just like the 50 million, he doesn't think it's going to happen. Matter of fact, Joshua knows it's not going to happen under these circumstances. You can't tell somebody, hey, I want to fight you so bad right now. I want to fight you. I'm begging. Because Deontay Wilder said he was begging. He said, yeah, I'm begging. But then right after he says that, don't price yourself out. Who the hell you think is listening at that particular time? Not a Deontay Wilder and not a Tyson Fury. They're not. Other guys, okay, they shouldn't price themselves out. But those two guys are not. So there we are. We've talked about it. I've probably talked as long as he did himself, Anthony Joshua. But I'm trying to make it clear to you guys that we have to move on in terms of Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua thinks the same thing he did 6 months ago. That's not changing, so we just got to let him fight and do his thing. And if the guys from England are going to keep filling stadiums for whoever, then that's going to continue to go, right? Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury can handle their business. They might even have a trilogy over there. Whatever. We don't know. But the fight, Joshua versus Wilder, even though it's an undisputed fight, it's not happening until sanctioning bodies or an arbitrary sanctioned body, somebody comes in and says, you know something? We're going to force you guys to fight. Either you guys fight at this rate or everybody's stripped. If nothing like that happens, it's not happening. It's that simple, guys. Doma Sports Talk. Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.